Take one look at the bright yellow jersey with the green trim and blue shorts, and you know exactly what national team we're talking about. That's how iconic Brazilian soccer is on the world stage, and no country's national identity, daily life, even purpose is tied as tightly to soccer as Brazil. They are the kings of the sport. They are always in the conversation as World Cup contender, and 2026 is no different. Welcome to Kickback Soccer Media's World Cup Capsules, where you'll learn everything you need to know about all 48 of the national teams competing at the 2026 World Cup. From the history of the game, the nation's current World Cup trajectory, unsung heroes, and cultural moments. I'm David Goss, and today we're talking about Seleção, Brazil. No country in the world has a stronger World Cup pedigree than Brazil. They've won more World Cups than any nation with 5. They're the only nation to have played in every single tournament, and they've given the world one legendary icon after another. Pelé, Zico, Romario, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Neymar, and now Vinicius Jr. Every person has one Brazilian icon that they remember from their childhood and that they've lived through and that they rep. But it's been 24 years since Brazil lifted the World Cup trophy. Now, they've got legendary manager Carlo Ancelotti and a group of young stars plus some experienced veteran, a situation that would make other countries drool. But the big question is if they can pull it all together and make things click to earn their 6th trophy before the rest of the world catches up to them. We could be here forever if we dive deep into the game's history in Brazil, so we'll focus mostly on their historic 5 World Cup wins. Brazil were the favorites at the 1958 World Cup, coming out of the 1950 tragedy that was their home loss against Uruguay at the Maracanã. But there were still doubts as this country had not yet gotten over the line. Up until that point, the World Cup winner hailed from the continent where the tournament was held every single time. So winning in Sweden would be a challenge for any South American side. But they went and defeated Austria, then tied England before the final group stage match against the Soviet Union. Coach Vicente Felau made 3 substitutions that were crucial for Brazil to defeat the Soviets: Zito, Garrincha, and Pelé, making his World Cup debut. From the kickoff, they kept up the pressure relentlessly, and after 3 minutes, which were later described as, quote, the greatest 3 minutes in the history of football, Vava gave Brazil the lead, and they won the match 2-0. Pelé scored the only goal of their quarterfinal match later on against Wales, and then they beat France 5-2 in the semifinal, where Pelé scored a hat-trick, announcing his arrival to the world. Brazil then went on to beat Sweden 5-2 in the final, winning their first World Cup and becoming the first nation to win a World Cup title outside of its own continent. Pelé scored 2 goals in the final, and the tournament was his breakout moment at just 17 years old. Brazil introduced the world to samba football in 1958. They followed it up in 1962 in Chile. Pelé was injured early in the tournament, but another incredibly talented player, Garrincha, known for his swiveling hips and shifty dribbling skills, stepped in and became the star for the Seleção. They basically dominated from start to finish, cruising through their group stage, only giving up 1 goal. Then they won every knockout round match by 2, beating England, Chile, and Czechoslovakia. The tournament itself is kind of remembered as a dud, and this is probably Brazil's least memorable World Cup win, but for any other country, it'd be a dominant performance and a World Cup victory. In 1970 in Mexico, Brazil fielded what is widely considered the best World Cup squad ever. Led by Pelé in his last World Cup finals, it included captain Carlos Alberto, Jairzinho, Tostão, Gerson, and Rivelino. They won all 6 of their games, topping it with a 4-1 drubbing of Italy that was highlighted by Carlos Alberto's legendary 86-minute blast. It was the iconic culmination of Brazil's beautiful game style, a stunning team effort involving nearly every player touching the ball, and the final flourish, the elite finish that sealed their victory. Jairzinho was the second top scorer of the tournament with 7 goals and is the only player to score in every match in a World Cup. Pelé finished with 4 goals and became the first player to score in 4 career World Cups. Brazil lifted the Jules Rimet Trophy for the 3rd time. They were the first nation to do so, which meant that they were allowed to keep it permanently. Brazil went 24 years without winning a World Cup or even participating in a final. Their struggles ended at the 1994 tournament, held in the United States, where a solid side headed by Romario and Bebeto in attack, captained by destroyer Dunga in midfield, goalkeeper Claudio Taffarel, and defender Jorginho won the World Cup for a then record fourth time. After a successful group stage, their campaign proceeded with a 1-0 victory over the United States in the round of 16 at Stanford Stadium on the 4th of July. They then went on to a 3-2 win over the Netherlands in the quarterfinals in Dallas and a 1-0 victory over Sweden in a rematch of the group stage match in Pasadena's Rose Bowl. This set up Brazil-Italy in the final in the Rose Bowl. With Italy's defense led by legend Franco Baresi, they were able to keep Romario's attack at bay. But as they entered penalty kicks, Brazil came out victorious, with Roberto Baggio famously missing the last PK and allowing Brazil to win. The 94 team was not held in high regard. 442 magazine labeled the 94 team, quote, unloved in Brazil due to their pragmatic, defensive style over the more typical Brazilian style of attacking flair, in spite of the players' individual status as idols. After losing in the final in 1998 to host France, Brazil came into 2002 on a roll. They topped their group. They defeated Belgium in the round of 16. In the quarterfinals, Brazil defeated England with a legendary goal from who else? Ronaldinho. A free kick from about 40 yards out. He floats it. It looks like a lofted ball to the far post, but it sneaks in the upper 90 off the post and in, and it allows Brazil to win the game. But Ronaldinho eventually was sent off in that match. Brazil survived, though, the next round. They knocked out Turkey in the semifinals to set up a showdown with Germany in the final in Yokohama, where Ronaldo scored both goals in Brazil's 2-0 triumph. Ronaldo won the Golden Boot as the tournament's leading scorer with 8 goals. Among the highlights of the campaign were the 3 R's, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho, and of course, that haircut for Ronaldo that he came in with, the shaved head with just a little bit of hair on top. If you go to any Brazil game or you hang out and celebrate any Brazil World Cup, you will see someone with the Ronaldo haircut. That 02 squad is often mentioned as one of the best soccer generations ever. Some players in the squad later became world stars, some already were, some became it going into the tournament. Marcos, Dida, Cafu, Lucio, Roberto Carlos, Gilberto Silva, Ronaldo, of course, O Fenomeno, the Phenomenon, Rivaldo, Kaká, and Ronaldinho. Brazil then exited in the quarterfinals in 4 of the following editions, reaching the semis only once at home in 2014. That 2014 World Cup on home soil was packed with expectations, with some of the biggest names in the world like Dani Alves, Thiago Silva, Marcelo, Neymar, Oscar, Julio Cesar, and Maicon. It was almost meant to be for the Brazilians to win. After a fairly straightforward group stage, Brazil eliminated Chile and Colombia before falling to Germany in the semifinals. That was an embarrassing 7-1 loss. In 2018 and 2022, they exited in the quarterfinals each time, despite having big names over the years, like Alisson, Marquinhos, Neymar, Vinicius Jr., and Rodrigo. Brazil have not been able to reach the same heights. We normally talk about the best moment for a national team. It's hard to pick for this Brazil with 5 World Cup wins, but the 2002 World Cup final at the International Stadium in Yokohama was a special one. The final took place in front of 69,000 supporters with an estimated 1.1 billion watching on television as Brazil took home their record 5th and most recent title. After the goalless first half, Brazil took the lead through Ronaldo on 67 minutes, scoring after what German goalkeeper Oliver Kahn called his only mistake in the finals. They extended their lead 12 minutes later when Kleberson ran towards the German penalty area before passing towards Rivaldo. He let the ball pass through his legs on a dummy, and it reached Ronaldo, who used his first touch to take it away from the German defender, Gerald Asamoah, and then shot the ball into the bottom corner past Kahn. The final score was 2-0. Ronaldo said, "The goals crowned my work and the work of the whole team. I worked for 2 years trying to recover from injury, and today God reserved this for me and the Brazilian team. I am very happy." This, of course, came after what was a tumultuous 1998 World Cup final, where there are still reports and rumors that Ronaldo had either been intimidated away from the field or poisoned with the water with how poorly he performed in that biggest moment. Brazil qualified as the 5th team in CONMEBOL, but only a point behind the second team, Ecuador. With 6 direct spots in South America, it would have taken a disaster for Brazil to stumble out. The CBF then appointed Dorival Jr. as manager. At the 2024 Copa America held in the U.S., Brazil lost in the quarterfinals, and Dorival was fired after losing 4-1 to Argentina at the Monumental de Nunes. In his place, the federation appointed Italian manager Carlo Ancelotti. After years of flirting with the legendary Ancelotti, Brazil were finally able to get their man in May of 2025. Ancelotti's tenure has been inconsistent, with a record of 4-2-2. Ancelotti's often mentioned as one of the greatest managers of all time. Everything he has done in the Champions League has been historic. He has led Real Madrid to a golden run, but he's never done it at the international stage. And that's the big question mark, is if he has enough time to figure it out in a different way for this Brazil national team. He has been criticized at times for being a foreign manager, which is fairly new for Brazil, and for being risk adverse with his style. Though he's also been largely praised for his man management and letting the players play. Unlike other top managers, he doesn't have a specific system. Rather, he adapts his style to the strengths of his players. And that, to me, is why he makes sense. This is a Brazil national team that has these superstars. And you have to find a way of having some cohesion, some organization for them to play into. But most important is platforming and facilitating a way for them to shine. This Brazil squad still has some of the biggest names in the world. Vinicius Jr., Bruno Guimaraes, Rodrigo, Gabriel Magalhães, all are considered among the best in their position in the world. It's also full of players who are yet to shine for the national team, but have done so on a big domestic stage level, or maybe for some of the second-tier clubs around Europe. Players like Alexandro, Danilo, Casemiro, and Fabinho continue to be in the squad despite their age and current level of play. Brazil seems to have lost the depth they once had, though it would not be shocking for the Brazilians to find new stars during the World Cup, something that's happened before, since the early days. Neymar surpassed Pele's number of goals and claimed the top goal scorer chart for Brazil with 79. He also has 128 appearances, the second most in history. But it's still up in the air whether or not he'll be a part of the squad. He's yet to be called in by Ancelotti. He struggled with injuries after returning to Brazil from Saudi Arabia to find his feet and love of the game again. We don't know what the next year will look like for Neymar, and that will answer the question of whether or not he gets a chance to be a part of one more World Cup. When you talk about young players to watch for Brazil, the list is endless. But we want to talk about Estêvão, an 18-year-old Brazilian winger now playing for Chelsea. Born in Franca, São Paulo, Estêvão began his youth career with the Academy of Cruzeiro in 2017. The following year, in 2018, at the age of 10, Estêvão signed a pro contract with Nike, making him the youngest Brazilian player to sign with the company, surpassing Real Madrid's forward Rodrigo's age. He played 2 seasons with Palmeiras before signing with Chelsea, and on July 14, 2025, Estêvão played his final game for Palmeiras in the quarterfinals of the 2025 Club World Cup against the very team he was set to join in Chelsea. He scored the equalizer against his future club, though Palmeiras were ultimately eliminated. Estêvão played for Brazil's youth teams and then made his senior debut in September of 2024. He's got 11 caps and 5 goals with the national team already. He is one of, if not the biggest prospects in soccer. He's already a rising star for his club and national teams. He's been compared to Messi and Neymar. He originally used the nickname Messinho as a homage to Messi, and people chose to call him that due to similarities in their respective playing styles. He's also been praised for his maturity, his reading of the game, and his decision-making, which are all considered to be precocious. He'll be 19 next summer, 2 years older than Pele, but the World Cup's as good a time as ever to announce himself on the field. We've already seen it in Champions League, and this is his chance at the big stage. One of the reasons the sport is so important to Brazil is Brazil, one of the 5 biggest countries in the world, never had a revolution or a big moment that established themselves a national culture. Their version of myth and patriotism and heroes, they are their soccer players. Pele and his team and what they did to win the first World Cup and put Brazil on a world stage are considering the founding moments. And the mythology that you hear from other countries with former kings or liberators or revolutionaries, those characters in Brazil are their players. And boy, do they have many to choose from. but we're going to focus on the man whose skill and spirit captured imaginations of millions here, Ronaldinho. Born in Porto Alegre, he came up through Grêmio's youth system and spent a few seasons with the senior team before making the jump across the pond to PSG. For PSG, he joined Barcelona, where he cemented his icon status. He then spent 3 seasons at AC Milan before heading back to Brazil for a few seasons, and then he had a stint in Mexico. He won the Champions League with Barcelona and the 2005 Ballon d'Or. He was a 2-time FIFA World Player of the Year and played a crucial role in Brazil's 2002 World Cup title. No one in the history of the world has ever had a better relationship with the ball than Ronaldinho. He is the epitome of joy, creativity, but also production. It's infectious when you watch him play. And for many, great flair, creative players, joy players, are never fully successful at the highest level. And for others, the ability to be successful at a high level means they have to give up some parts of their game. Ronaldinho is the only one, in my mind, in the modern era at least, that had fused the two things and was so good at what he did. And it was so easy for him that he could do these things at a high level in the biggest moments against the best teams. Look back, if you've never seen it, at his Samba goal against Chelsea in the Champions League knockout stages. Go look at him sombreroing people, megging players, connecting the game. There is nothing like watching Ronaldinho. And one of the things for Ronaldinho that helped, Ronaldinho's rise came as well just as players were starting to embrace a new level of commercialization and as soccer highlights were becoming more widely available thanks to the internet's growth. And at times, Ronaldinho seemed like he was everywhere, from Nike and Pepsi ads to scoring bangers in the Champions League. I think YouTube should send a huge thanks to Ronaldinho for helping their platform grow as people just binged Ronaldinho highlights. He was the gateway into the game for people all around the world, including myself. And those skills, that smile, make him one of the most beloved figures in the game. It also made it hard for him. He was not able to maintain his fitness throughout large parts of his career, and he filtered in and out. But even when he left Europe and went back to Brazil, he led his local club, Atlético Mineiro, to some iconic results. And anytime Ronaldinho is near a soccer field, even now, when he goes for these guest appearances, when he goes to do charity games, people watch because you never know what he's going to do near a ball. There's so much that's special and iconic about soccer in Brazil, and it's so tightly tied to national identity and how Brazilians see themselves. Spend a day at Rio de Janeiro's famous Ipanema Beach, and there will be pickup games and juggling circles every few yards. Children play in the streets and in the famous favelas, while whole communities take breaks from work to watch games. The Brazilian League has emerged as the strongest in the Americas and probably the strongest outside of Europe. The Fla-Flu game is one of the great rivalries on the planet. Flamengo claims 40 million official fans, which in their mind makes them even bigger than the church. The sport generates immense emotional investment, and the success of the national team is celebrated as a source of national pride, with fans experiencing both euphoria and despair intensely. During important matches, especially the World Cup, it's common for businesses to grant employees time off or set up screens for them to watch. Teachers have to avoid scheduling tests during these times. I was lucky enough to be at the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. And for all the games I went to, the 3 biggest highlights of my time there were watching on screens, not in the stadiums, the 3 Brazil group stage matches that I experienced. I was in São Paulo for the opener, not at the game, went to the city center and watched with all the Brazil fans. But the other 2 games, I was traveling around the country. For one, I wandered into a mall, and the mall had every single store facing their TVs into the food court and was packed to the gills with people in yellow jerseys, in green, and so much more. It was one of the greatest parties I have ever been around, and has, to me, connected me to the Brazil national team as a second team at times, anytime they're playing. Brazil has its own unique style known as Joga Bonito, the beautiful game. It's defined by creativity, improvisation, and skill, often referred to as ginga. Key characteristics include those individual flair, quick movements, good footwork, and a rhythmic, fluid playing style influenced by the martial art capoeira. Players develop this style through frequent play in tight spaces, which improves ball control, first touch, and quick decision-making under pressure. Futsal is one of the great inventions in the world. It's an indoor game that was founded in Brazil with a weighted ball to force players to be quick and comfortable in tight spaces. The Brazil yellow jersey, especially with the number 10, is an iconic piece of clothing. Made by Nike since 1997, it's one of the most recognizable items in the world. Brazil were drawn into Group C with Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. Now, Morocco, in my mind, are the best team in Pot 2. So that was as hard as the draw could get, but the other two, a little bit more friendly. Brazil's never lost to Scotland in a World Cup. They have 3 wins and a draw, and I would assume that won't change anytime soon. The connection between Brazil and Haiti is fascinating. For many in Haiti, Brazil is their second, if not their first team. And if you haven't seen it, go look up the Game for Peace. Back in 2005, Brazil was brought to Haiti by the UN to play a game to help Haiti's relevance around the world. It connected Brazil, a team that was already tied to Haitian culture, even closer. The game against Morocco is the keynote game of the group. But no matter what, this is a Brazil team that will get through this group. They've already won 2 World Cups in North America, one back in 94 in the United States and one in 1970, as we talked about, in Mexico City. So they'll be comfortable, and they've played a number of games across the U.S. and Canada in the past. This may not be a Brazil team that is favorited as much as we have seen in the past, but I think this team's got a great chance to go for a win. As I said, Carlo Ancelotti is the perfect manager to help stars alleviate pressure and make them most comfortable. And if you're going to win a World Cup as Brazil, you need your superstars to carry you. And none is bigger than Vinicius Jr. And he has played his best soccer in his life under Carlo Ancelotti. So I won't be shocked if we see this team lining up in the yellow kits at MetLife Stadium in the middle of July. We always like to leave you with a fun fact, and this one fascinating. Prison sentences can be reduced in Brazil for every book a prisoner reads. In the 1980s, the Criminal Enforcement Act was implemented, requiring that all prisons actively prepare the incarcerated for successful transition back into society. This initially meant that prisoners could earn time off for the number of days working a job through the prison. In 2012, the Ministry of Justice of Brazil expanded this law to include compensating time served through study and reading books. And if you're looking to get into the Brazilian vibe during the World Cup, you could for sure look up some Brazilian music. It's some of the best in the world. And then you could grab yourself the famous caipirinha, a cocktail made with the national spirit, cachaça, and along with muddled lime and sugar. Well, that's it for Brazil. This is one of the big ones, of course, of the World Cup. But we are doing one of these episodes for every single nation that's qualified for the 2026 World Cup. So search Kickback 26 anywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe, follow us on social media at First Touch and Kickback Media. And we will have all your coverage throughout the 2026 World Cup.